Hello and welcome to my first 2004Scape video. My plans for this video are we are awfully close to 32 quest points, so we're gonna do Restless Ghost, and that'll put us up to 32 quest points, and then we will do Dragon Slayer. It is a Sunday at 12:45 in the morning, so I'm hoping not to take too long with this, but if I need to be sleep deprived tomorrow at work, I will gladly do so because this is worth it. To give you a little bit of background, I've been playing RuneScape since probably spring 2006. I was in 4th grade at the time, and I had seen RuneScape before. I'd seen people playing it around me, but I didn't know what it was. And then I had just switched to a new school in 4th grade, and everybody there was talking about RuneScape, so I went home, begged my parents to let me play RuneScape, and they were very Christian, so they were very against me playing RuneScape. They had heard from people at church that it was like a demonic game. So it took a lot of convincing from me and also my sister, but eventually my parents gave me the thumbs up to play RuneScape. In addition to that, they were also very worried about too much computer use. So they didn't actually give me the login to my RuneScape account. Whenever I wanted to play, I'd have to come in and have them type in my password for me. I don't know why back then I didn't think of just making my own account, but 4th grade me wasn't that technically savvy, so I had to live with that. And yeah, I've been playing RuneScape ever since. Never too deeply. I was sort of a very casual RuneScape player. I played pretty frequently up until probably 2010, 2011. Got into the mid 70 combats, and then I would come back occasionally, but never. I never got addicted to it, or never had the opportunity to get really good at the game. So I was never a PKer, never into endgame content. I just enjoyed kind of the process of the grind. I think one of my shining achievements, one of my biggest memories, was the first time doing animal magnetism, just because I wanted the backpack and I thought it looked really cool. Yeah, so I played RuneScape kind of off and on. And then when RuneScape, or old school RuneScape, came out, I was very active. I don't know if some of you were around for that, but there was the 2006Scape and 2007Scape servers that had probably hundreds of thousands of people that were registered and active in that community. They never amounted to anything. I think the servers came online for 2 or 3 days, and the entire time they were disconnecting. So I never got to experience that server, as none of us did. But it was following the momentum of that, which I was very involved in, that led to old school RuneScape. And I was extremely hyped because at that point, I'd only been playing for 7 years by 2013, but I'd seen the game evolve and change from what I initially kind of fell in love with as a kid, become something very different. And I think it was a lot of the, I remember the Squeal of Fortune I was 12 years old at the time, or probably 14, 15 actually. But I remember logging in and seeing the Squeal of Fortune and just being disgusted with the game. So I didn't really touch it anymore, and then old school RuneScape came out, and from then on, I think that was probably my most active time in RuneScape was near after the release of old school RuneScape. And my old school RuneScape account is actually, I think, my highest level account I've ever had. Let me pull myself up in the high scores and I can show you. Let me find it. So this is to show you how much of a casual I am. This is my old school RuneScape high score page. I'm 100 something combat. You can see 80 combat skills, like 60-ish in all the other skills, 80 in a couple like farming I enjoy. But no 99s, nothing insane. The only thing I really do when I log into old school RS these days is spam barrows. Um, but yeah, old school RuneScape was like the most active time in my RuneScape career. And you know, through the years of old school RuneScape being out is when I like became an adult and entered, went to college, had a job, all that stuff. Um, so I kind of lost touch with it. I was always in touch with the community, but I kind of stopped playing. I would play occasionally off and on, but I wasn't like deep into it anymore. Um, and a year or two ago, now that I've finished college, I've settled into kind of my career role. I wanted to get back into it, and I've realized that at this point, old school RuneScape is like not the same game it was when it came out. Like what I enjoyed about old school RuneScape was that this was RuneScape in 2007, like right around when I started playing. I got to um, re-immerse myself in the game I fell in love with as a kid, and everything is so different now that it doesn't feel like playing the same game. So right around this time, just like probably less than 2 weeks ago, I heard about 2004Scape, and here we are. Started playing about a week and a half ago. These are my stats, like 40s, 50s in combat skills. Nothing crazy, pretty humble account. Grinding quests now. And yeah, I've been yapping enough for too long, so let's go ahead and jump into Restless Ghost. So I totally wasn't reading when I talked to Father Eric here. So let me pull up the old school RS wiki. So located here, there's a ghost haunting the graveyard in Lumbridge. So we need to go talk to Father Ernie, who is the crazy old guy who lives in the swamp. So I'll pause and I'll start recording again once we find Father Ernie. And I'm unpausing after probably 10 seconds. I'm just realizing in 2004, there is no path to the swamp through the little graveyard there. So we're going to walk the long way around. And yeah, while I'm walking, I guess I can share some more information about why I'm so like happy and excited about 2004Scape is, as we saw, like I've never gotten to the super late game of RuneScape before, especially past its evolution from like late 2007, early 2008. So I think this time period is what I'm most familiar with. Like my familiarity is up to and including the end point of this game. So I remember as a kid, like the best armor in the game was Dragon, for example. And since I never got too deep into the late game of like later versions of RuneScape, that's still kind of like conceptually how I see the late game of RuneScape is like Dragon armor, level 126 combat, and having Dragon is just badass. So I think it's like achieving a childhood dream of being able to achieve that late game stuff in this version of the game. Like getting full Dragon in old school RuneScape now is like nobody really cares. So in this version of the game, that's much more challenging. Like if I'm able to reach that point in this game as an adult, then I think like my childhood self would be very happy. And yeah, I'll stop yapping now. We'll return when we find Father Ernie. All right, here we are. We found him. Okay, we've got our Amulet of Ghost Speak. Let's see what's next. We're gonna save the long walk back to Lumbridge and sacrifice a law room. And I just realized I intended to bring several teleports to each of the cities, but I've depleted my supply of air runes, so Unfortunately, we'll be walking anywhere we need to go. And let's talk to Father Ernie once again, or Father Eric. Maybe I missed something. Hold on. Oh, I see. We can't proceed to Father Eric. We need to go and deal with the ghost. And then we come back to Father Eric. So let's equip our Amulet of Ghost Speak. And I actually remember doing this quest for the first time as a kid. I was pretty clueless back then, given I was like 8 or 9 years old. But unfortunately, I found somebody in the game who was willing to help and walk me through. So let's open this. And there he is, the Restless Ghost. It's funny, in this version of the game, it's just a floating hat and glasses. I think every version of the game I played, there was like a ghost face there. I don't know how to describe it, but if we go to like the old school RS wiki, I'll pull it up right here. This is what I mean, this face. Yeah. Let me bring this back. Okay, we've chatted with the ghost. Let's see what's next. Alright, looks like we gotta take a trip to Draenor Village, which is good because there's a bank there. So I will go ahead and sprint over, and we will catch up when we are in Draenor Village. See you in a sec. And while we're running, I guess, since this is my first video, I can share some more information. Hopefully you don't mind all the yapping I'm doing. Maybe it's interesting. But for my career, I am a software engineer. And funnily enough, the way I got introduced to programming was through the RuneScape private server community. So I don't remember exactly how I stumbled upon it, but I think it was through like when Jagex put the like the graphical update out. And this is even more backstory, so apologize for that. But I remember in 5th grade, right, I moved at the end of the school year. So I think this was like, I can't remember what year it was. It was like May 2007, I think, or it was May 2008. I could cross-check with when the HD update came out, but it was one of those times. And in the process of moving, like, we didn't have internet or a computer for probably 2 months, 2 or 3 months. So I think, like, yeah, I stopped playing in like May 2007, 2008, whichever year it was, and I started again in that August. And when I had left, RuneScape was still the graphics you're seeing now. But when I came back, they had updated to the HD graphics, and I was like, I had no awareness of any of this, so I was very shocked. And I think a year or two later, I started to actually miss the old graphics. So, and while I'm yapping, I may as well be productive since it's so late. I think I started looking up like ways to play RuneScape on the old graphics. And that was, if I'm remembering correctly, how I stumbled into the private server community. I think the private server I found at that time was Herbscape. I don't know if any of you played that, but it wasn't like a recreation of RuneScape anything. It was like a pretty generic, like early 2010s, late 2000s RuneScape private server of just like, you have 1 or 2 banks in like Al-Kharid, and then like random islands with a bunch of bosses on them. And let's see. Okay, now we gotta go back to Lumbridge. So yeah, but it ran on the old graphics engine. So I spent a lot of time playing that private server. And from there, like, I kind of grew my awareness of the private server community. I think then I started playing this server called Ballscape, If any of you remember that, it was ran by some guy. His name was like Baba Black Sheep or something. Maybe this is awakening some like repressed memories for some of you. Not repressed, but like long lost memories for you. And I got my sister onto it, and it was through, I think, like the initial discovery of private servers that I was like exploring how you make those. And eventually, like, I found like, I think like Moparscape source code, and found YouTube tutorials to how to like spin up your Moparscape server. And from there, it was like, is where it kind of took off. It was like, you had the power to make your own version of RuneScape. And I think the stuff that interested me most was like, just stuff as simple as like dialogues. Like you could customize dialogue. So if I came and talked to Father Eric, I can make him say whatever I want. Or like, you know, this initial message when you log in, it says welcome to RuneScape. Changing that to be something like something else was so cool to me. And it was through that that I began learning Java, which is at the time what RuneScape was written in. So yeah, that's how I got my start in programming, and it kind of evolved throughout the years, but I thought that would be a fun memory to share since this is RuneScape we're playing. And yeah, let's talk to Father Eric. He's telling us to put the skull in the ghost coffin. Go ahead and do that. Alright, and there we go. We have completed the Restless Ghost quest, and we have reached 32 quest points. We are now eligible to start Dragon Slayer, which I'm very excited for because I'm still, aside from my scimitar, which you can see, and I'm actually sporting just a bunch of random shit right now, but one of my combat gear right now is full adamant, so very excited to get this Dragon Slayer over with and upgrade to Rune, which I believe will be best in slot combat gear for a while. So yeah, I'll pause here and we'll jump back in once we get started on Dragon Slayer. See you in a sec. Alright, sorry to disappoint, guys. Maybe you could assume, given that this is the end of the video, but it is 1:15 now in the morning, and I have a 9 a.m. meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and get to bed. I'll post this video. I don't expect it to get any views, but if someone out there watches this and you enjoy it, thank you. Maybe leave a comment to let me know you're here. And yeah, I'll follow up in the next video with the Dragon Slayer quest. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.